All right, stop. Before we enter this space, you and I both need to take a breath. So let's do that real quick. Close your eyes for a second. Relax your shoulders. Get the loosey-gooseys out. Shake out whatever may be resting in your body. Let that energy release. Let it go. Settle into your space. Relax your shoulders. Lengthen your spine from tailbone all the way up through the crown of the head. Soften your face. And bring your focus to your inhale and exhale. Keep going. Inhale. Exhale. Let your breath resonate from the nostrils, both inhale and exhale. Two more, big and deep. One last breath. Let your eyes flutter open. I love to start that way, just to clear the air, cleanse whatever is going on so that we all can start here fresh. So with that said, my name is Tarini. You have found your way to Embodied Grace Yoga, and I am extremely, extremely grateful that you're here today, because I'm going to show you several ways that you can make Surya Namaskar B or Sun Salutation B work for your body. We talked about Sun Salutation A before, and now, of course, we're going to jump into B. B is a complement to A. It is a continuation of A, if you also want to consider it that as well, but it also is a lot more of a dynamic movement series than A is. There are a few new postures that are added in, and it takes a lot more energy to move through this series. So with that, of course, there are going to be some limitations for some of us, and that's perfectly fine. So what I'm going to show you today are ways that you can make it work for your body. And if I don't include any variations that are working for you, let me know. Tell me in the comments so that way I can make a video specifically for you and get that posted as soon as I possibly can. But without further ado, let's just jump on the mat and get started. Before we get started, I do want to recommend that you have a few things around if you would like to. And by that, I mean some props. I recommend 2 blocks to just have at the top of your mat, ready to go for whenever you need to either bring the ground up to you or to support yourself a little bit more throughout these postures. I'll also be showing you some ways that you can modify without having to use the props if you don't want to. Totally up to you. Because this is your practice, it's your prerogative. Do what you want to do. Famous words of Bobby Brown. I wonder who wrote that song. We're not going to let ADHD take over this video. No, we're not. So just like with Sun Salutation A, we're going to start standing in Tadasana, mountain pose. So coming into the top of the space that you're practicing on, whether it's a mat, blanket, towel, whatever you got, come to a more forward position so that you have plenty of space behind you to move. Settle your feet in. I like to have my feet parallel to the sides of my practice space with my toes spread wide and really gripping into the ground. So they sinking down into the heels and the toes and the outside edges of the foot so that the arches of my feet can have a tiny little peak up and away from the ground. So as my legs start to engage, I start to notice how my knees are in space. Are they locked back or are they just kind of soft and neutral? How's my pelvis? Is it tilting forward with my tailbone lifting up? Or can I tuck my tailbone a little and pull the top of my pelvis back, bringing some engagement into that lower abdominal space? Are my ribs squeezing in towards my pelvic bone? Or are they lifting up and away from the hips? And then bringing up to the shoulders. Are the shoulders also trying to travel their way up towards the ears? Or can they soften away, squeezing slightly together toward the spine? That tends to make the arms relax a little bit, so allow the arms to relax as well. Let the hands expand and open wide. Then let your chin give a little lift and almost pretend like you're pressing the back of your head into the wall to pull the chin back a little bit. Not necessarily tucking it in towards the neck, but just a slight push back. Feeling like the strongest mountain, nothing could move you if you even let it try. But of course we are going to move a little bit. So Sun Salutation B starts a little bit differently than A. In A, we start in Tadasana mountain pose with arms up, but in Sun Salutation B, we start in Utkatasana chair pose, taking a little bit of a seat with a bend into the knees, tailbone starting to slide towards the back of your mat, arms still reaching high. You can keep hands here if you like though, if your shoulders are just like, no, not happening at all. Totally up to you. So I consider in this variation, this chair pose is just a little seat, just to take a little seat. So just a slight bend into the knees, a slight leaning forward of the upper body, and a slight push back of the tailbone. So you're taking a little seat, you'll start to feel your engage a little more, or legs engage a little more. Your arms reach high or hands stay at heart center. This is all happening on an inhale. Your exhale is going to take you down into a forward fold, reaching either towards your blocks as they come in handy, or towards the floor, or you could even grab onto your legs. If you're like, I'm not reaching for the floor, but I also don't necessarily want blocks, grab onto your legs. Your inhale, if you're already grabbing onto your legs, keep hold there. If your hands are to the ground and you want to keep them at the ground, you can keep them there as well. But your inhale is going to lift your torso just halfway up. The backs of your legs are going to lengthen, so you're no longer in a slightly bent knee position for Ardha Uttanasana, half lift. Exhale is going to take you down to the ground to your hands and knees, with or without blocks, totally up to you. Your inhale is going to send you into cow pose, sending your belly button toward the floor, lifting your tailbone towards the ceiling, curling your chin up toward the ceiling. Your exhale is going to take you into a cat pose, rounding your spine, pulling your belly button up and in, and tucking your tailbone under, chin tucks in towards your throat. Inhale is going to step your right foot forward, either to the outside of your pinky or just behind your hand into a kneeling position. Your inhale still carrying you up, lifting your arms to the ceiling into a kneeling posture here. Not really a name for it, and if there is, I'm going to find it for you and post it on this screen here. Exhale, take your hands down to the floor, come back to your hands and knees. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. Inhale, step your left foot forward, rise up. Exhale, take the hands down, back to the knees. All happening in your exhale. Your inhale, right back to cow pose, belly button low, tailbone and chin high. Exhale, make them switch. Pull the belly button up, tuck the tailbone and chin in. Then inhale, sit your hips down towards your heels, let your arms stretch as you start your 5 breaths in child's pose. Now, since we're just demoing here, we're not going to spend the entire 5 breaths. This is just our trial run first. When we go through it in real time, we'll do it 1 breath to 1 movement, and then we'll take the full 5. But as you're breathing here, you'll take 4 full breaths in child's pose. And on your last your 5th breath, your inhale is going to take you up to your hands and knees. Your exhale will tuck the toes, lift the hips into a downward facing dog. You're only going to be here for a moment because that next inhale, you're walking, stepping, or jumping your feet forward right into a halfway lift. All happening on an inhale. Exhale is going to take the hands back to your blocks, the ground, or your legs for a forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Utkatasana, sit your hips down a little lower, take that little seat, Reach your arms overhead or hands at heart center. And exhale, Samasthiti. Stand tall. Bring your hands to your heart space. Press together. Shoulders relaxed. Standing tall just like you did in mountain pose. And that is the first variation of Sun Salutation B, broken down a little bit. So let's speed it up. All of these movements, just like Sun Salutation A, are connected to a breath. So inhale carries you to one position, exhale carries you to another. And we'll follow that sequence all the way through until we get right back to this point of standing at the top of the mat or at the top of the space that you're occupying today. So come back into your Tadasana. Relax the shoulders. Come into your breath. Long, steady inhales and exhales. Now I also want to point this out. My breath pace may not match yours. If you take a longer breath, move with your breath, but just listen to my cues so that you know what movement is attached to that particular breath. If we happen to be in sync with each other, you're in luck. We'll match each other, and that's awesome. If you happen to breathe a little bit faster, that's okay. What I would recommend is to think of what you just learned while we were moving very slowly. And if you notice that you're moving a little bit faster, just think ahead of what is coming. And I'll do my best to make sure that the cues come before the next breath so that you know what's coming next. All right, coming into your strong mountain pose, Tadasana. Inhale, Utkatasana, take that little seat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, down to your hands and knees. Inhale for cow pose. Exhale, round the spine, cat pose. Inhale, step your right foot forward, sweep your arms up, reaching high into that kneeling lunge. Exhale, hands to the floor, knee back down to the ground. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. Inhale, step left foot forward, rise up, reaching high. Exhale, hands back to the floor, knee to the floor. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. Inhale, sit down into your child's pose, let your hips rest towards the floor, arms outstretched. And breathe here for 3 more breaths while in child's pose. Exhale, that's 2. Inhale. Exhale, that's 3. Inhale. Exhale, that's 4. Your 5th inhale, rise up to hands and knees. Exhale, lift the hips, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Inhale, walk, step, or jump forward into halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, little seat, Utkatasana, chair pose. Exhale, Samasthiti, hands at heart center, shoulders relaxed, legs strong. Did we all make it? Yes! I love when that happens. So that is variation 1. Keeps it real low to the floor, less impact on the joints, less energy having to be exerted. If you're not feeling like you want to put that much energy into your physical practice that day, this is a great option for you to start with. Let's change it up a little bit and go into the second variation of this posture sequence. So still starting in mountain pose, find your strength from the feet all the way up through to the crown of the head. Your inhale still takes you into chair pose. It can be a little seat or you can take a deeper seat. Totally up to you. You might feel a little bit more energy in your legs. Let that energy pulsate from the center. Inner thighs engage towards each other. Your exhale is still going to take you down to that forward fold. Blocks, no blocks, whatever you like. Inhale, halfway lift. Lift the torso just halfway. Exhale, hands to the floor. Step both feet to the back and bring the knees down. You'll bend your elbows and start to lower down toward the floor. Now, if you're lucky and have your blocks here, you can let your shoulders rest right there. Otherwise, you're hovering in a modified Chaturanga Dandasana. Your inhale will let the tops of your feet press to the floor. Push through the hands, lift the chest, lift the chin. into cobra pose, Bhujangasana. And exhale, come back to your hands and knees, tuck the toes, lift the hips, down dog. Inhale, we'll step your right foot behind your right hand, spin your left heel down, push down hard into the right foot so you sweep your arms up in warrior one. Now if you're like, Tierney, what in the world? I don't like that. Keep your heel up, toes to the ground, heel to the sky for crescent lunge instead. So pushing through that right foot, arms still high. So if you're here in crescent lunge, you'll feel a nice pull through the left front side of your hip. If you're in warrior one with the heel down, you may still feel that same pull through the front hip, but pull the right hip back so the hips face forward. You may feel something in your inner thighs too. And then keep a strong lunge in the front knee, hands to the sky. Now this is just one inhale. The exhale is going to take you back down to do that modified chaturanga. Bring the knee down, right knee down, lower, all on an exhale. Inhale, push up into cobra pose. Exhale, back to downward facing dog, because we got to do this on the left side. Your inhale will step your left foot forward, your back heel up or down, rise up. All of this happening on an inhale. It's a lot of busy work on these breaths. Your exhale takes your hands back down to the ground, knees come back down to the ground, lower just halfway to that modified chaturanga dandasana. Inhale to your cobra pose. Exhale to child's pose. And here you'll rest at 4 breaths. And then on the 5th breath, you'll come up into downward facing dog. So use the inhale to come up to your knees. Exhale to lift the hips. Inhale to walk, step, or jump your feet forward right into halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale to take your chair, have a seat, reach high. Exhale, hands at your heart center, Samastitihi. Whew. That one starts to bring the energy up a little bit, starts to build the heat a little bit more. You'll start to feel a little bit more warm, and especially if you decide to do this in a repeating series. Whew. I'm gonna work myself up, I can't even talk. All right, and for the final variation, this one is one that you will commonly see done or cued in yoga classes. So if you're seeing this one and you're realizing, oh gosh, I remember that now, I hated it before, use any of these 2 variations or mix and match them if you like. You can still stay on cue with the class and be able to follow along in your own way. I've made sure that the breaths match with how they are typically cued in most classes that will include Sun Salutation B. So let's just jump right into it. Variation 3. So starting again in that same strong mountain pose, find the strength from your feet, let it radiate up through the crown of your head. Arms relaxed, shoulders relaxed, but spine long. Inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. Your exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands to the floor, step back and lower down to chaturanga. You can keep the knees up or knees down, but hover. Inhale, upward facing dog where the thighs float away from the ground, chest lifted just like in cobra pose. Exhale, tuck your toes, pull up from your belly button, let your tailbone rise up to the sky, push through the hands into downward facing dog. So inhale, right foot steps forward, decide if you're going to do crescent lunge or warrior one, rise up, your back heel is either lifted in crescent lunge or lowered in warrior one. Your exhale takes the hands to the floor, step back, chaturanga, knees high or knees low, hover right at the elbows at a 90-degree-ish angle. Inhale, upward dog or cobra, you can let the thighs rest, totally up to you. Again, like I said, mix and match. Exhale, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Now we got to do this all over again on the left side. Inhale, left foot forward. Your back heel can stay up or roll down, rise up, crescent or warrior one. Exhale, hands to the floor. Step back. Lower down to your chaturanga. Inhale. For your back bend of choice, cobra or upward facing dog, where the thighs are floating up and away from the floor. Exhale, you'll take your downward facing dog for 5 breaths. But if you're like, absolutely not, I'm going to child's pose, go for it. You can also rest on your hands and knees if you're still wanting a little more energy, but not as much as downward facing dog requires. But you'll breathe here for 5. Whew. Now, on that 5th breath, your inhale, you'll look forward. Exhale, lift your knees, crouch back like you're going to spring forward, because you are. Inhale, walk, step, or jump your feet forward right into a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit down into your chair, reach high. Exhale, Samastitihi. Relax the shoulders, hands press right into your heart space. So that is variation 3. Let's try it all connected, 1 breath to each movement. All right, let's do this. We're going to do variation 3, connecting every breath to every movement. So every inhale, travel. Every exhale, travel. So allow yourself a full expansive breath so you have plenty of time to move through the posture. All right. Settle into your mountain pose. Relax the jaw, relax the shoulders, long, strong legs. Inhale, sit into your chair pose. Exhale, forward fold, hips high, head low. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step backward, jump back into chaturanga, lowering down. Inhale, or up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot forward, back heel up high or back heel low, rise up, warrior 1. Or crescent. Exhale, hands to the floor, step back, chaturanga. Woo! Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot forward, rise up, crescent lunge or warrior 1 with back heel down. Exhale, hands to the floor, step back, lower down. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And breathe here. Inhale. Exhale. That's 1. Nice. Inhale. Exhale. 2. Inhale. Exhale. 3. Inhale. Exhale. 4. Inhale, look towards your hands. Exhale, bend your knees, crouching, ready to go. Inhale, walk, step, or jump your feet forward, right into halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, take a seat, reach high, chair pose. Exhale, Samastitihi. Woo! I am so proud, so proud. Now, I love to have a little bonus extra for my folks that like to spice it up a lot. So if you're one of those that's been practicing for a while, feeling real strong, feeling a little fun, want to try something else, of course I have options for you. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to demonstrate them for you, and there's nothing wrong with having a teacher that can't demonstrate something, but they may know something that you don't. That's why you have a teacher. Anywho, alright, so just like with Sun Salutation A, you do have that same option of taking that crow pose right at the end of, or right after the halfway lift, before jumping or stepping back to lower down or to come into your cat-cows, whichever it is that you're doing. Because if you're into the hands and knees and cat-cow, totally an option for you as well. So how that looks, or can look, may look, might look, because we'll see what happens today, no guarantees. Your inhale is still going to take you to chair pose. Your exhale is still going to take you to a forward fold. Your inhale still to a halfway lift, but more so prepping you up for crow pose. Exhale, bring the hands to the knees, knees to the backs of your triceps. Inhale, lift the feet. Exhale, jump back, chaturanga. That was a little rackety. Inhale for your back bend of choice. Exhale to down dog. You'll still step your right foot forward. Inhale, rise up to your crescent or warrior one. Exhale, come down into a one-legged bakasana. Once you get your hands firmly to the ground, knee behind the tricep, left foot lifting. And then your toes should lift. But if you're like, I'm going to do like Terry's doing, I'm keeping my feet on the ground, go for it. I'm not moving my feet. This left foot is the only one that's going to move. Exhale, step both feet back though, and lower down. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, left foot forward, rise up, crescent or warrior one, same as always. But exhale, one-legged curl on the other side. Stay for an inhale, then use the exhale to come down to your chaturanga. Inhale for your back bend. Exhale for your child's or your downward facing dog. Now, you could go through the rest. Once you're done, find your way back up towards the top of the mat. You could jump into handstand if you like, whatever works for you. Completely up to you. But that's the beauty of a lot of this, that you do have a little bit of freedom to make it work for what you are wanting to do that day. Whew! Baby girl gotta catch her breath. And I've worked up a little bit of a sweat. And I hope you did a little bit too. This is not a full class, but you can totally treat it like one if you wanted to, and this could be your practice for the day. As if you're wanting to crave a little bit of asana, but learn a little something new as well. All right, folks, that is all I have for you, with the exception of this one tip. When you get into your chaturanga, do your best to hold it for a second. A lot of times what you will see in both sun salutation A and B, or any time that you are going through the vinyasa flow, is that chaturanga just kind of gets breezed on through. And it is its own pose. Chaturanga Dandasana means four-limbed staff pose. And it looks like this. And that is where you end and hold it for a second before you move into your back bend. So keep that in mind as you're moving through these practices. When you get into chaturanga mode, regardless of if you have your knees up or knees down, pause here for a second. Your arms are going to be like, whoa! That's fine. As I was doing before, have some blocks underneath your shoulders so that way you have some support. Whew. And a nice little reference point of where to stop. If you want them to be a little higher, change the height. Boom. Pause. Then back bend. All right. That was the only tips I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed. If you would like me to add anything, or if you have any questions about anything, you know where to put those comments. Leave them there. You can also email me, hello@embodiedgraceyoga.com. All right, y'all. Enjoy your day. Thank you so much for being here. Please go drink some water and get some rest. Love you much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.